Hello, welcome back to JRTV. Welcome back to my Orlando City fans, to the loud and proud Orlando fans. John here, back after a long time off. I've been traveling, and I finally made the move from the US to the UK. And here I am, back in England. And it was, it's difficult for people over here to watch a game, but yesterday, we had a 4:30 kickoff over in Montreal, which was a 9:30 p.m. kickoff for me here in England. So I thought, great, I can stay up, I can watch this game. It's not too late for me. And of course, it had to be that instead of a thrilling 4-3 winner with lots of goals, instead I watched Orlando City self-implode at the end of the game, which is the title of this video. So we're going to do some post-game thoughts that I've got. Just kind of go through the lineup. We'll go through the first half and the second half, and just some general overall things, and maybe talk about the post-game presser as well. So if you haven't done so already, drop a like on the video, give me your comments. Great to see all you guys. I missed you all, and happy to be back talking a bit of Orlando City. All right, let's talk about the lineup. A lot of people thought it was going to happen. I know David and Luis were talking about it on Loud and Proud Orlando. The possibility of Spicer getting a start after his good form recently, and of course the winner against Inter Miami. And then also Atuesta coming back from injury, another one that we're hearing rumblings that he was potentially going to get in the starting lineup. And the two of them do get in the starting lineup, along with Justin Ellis, Martin Ojeda, Brian Ojeda, Angulo, Adrian Marin, Robin Janssen, Iago, Griffin Dorsey, and of course Maxime Crepeau in goal. I think, as Luis and David were talking about on their last pod, and as a lot of people talked about, maybe, Spicer is really just more of a super sub, and what was going to happen when you put him on from the beginning of the game. He really needs to prove himself in this one. I don't really think we saw enough from him. We'll talk more about some of the chances that he had. Westa, he's been fairly average for me all season. Of course, he had some good moments last week against Miami, but throughout the season, I've not really been very impressed at all with Atuesta. So to see him get in the lineup, again, he needed to really show why he deserves to be back in the starting lineup. And I think the combination of Atuesta and Ojeda is Brian Ojeda, that is, in defensive midfield, is one that hasn't really worked for us at all this season. So I wasn't excited to see the two of them in there again together. Now they had it as a 4-4-2 on Apple TV. We know it's not a 4-4-2. We know we're playing this five back with three center backs. We're playing Angulo as sort of a left wing back. We're playing Griffin Dorsey as a right wing back. The beginning of this game was very, very chaotic. A lot of back and forth, a lot of sort of early chances for both teams started with both the teams kind of not really settling into the game very well. I think Montreal obviously wanted to come out, attack us straight off the bat, try and unsettle us. And I think we were trying to do the same thing to them, but neither team were really very clean in the opening minutes of the game. This moment here in particular from Angulo, I think kind of shows the kind of game he had. It was very, very sloppy from him. A complete miss there on that one, which meant that, they had a great chance at the other end. Maxime Crepeau, I think did have a very good game. We'll talk a bit more about him later. But yeah, this was the first opportunity when our head and our hearts in our mouth, as you'd say. Wiki Carmona was very, very wasteful this game. I think a lot of the good chances fell to him, and he didn't really capitalize on them. Justin Ellis had some really great moments. And throughout this match, I think he was actually probably our best player, if not one of the best players. He was coming a bit deeper into midfield, moving the ball around really nicely. You'll see several passes in the highlights that really stood out. This ball from Iago was brilliant, but Atuesta's, he kind of floats around the midfield, and sometimes he gets these opportunities high up the field, and he really kind of wasted that one. Didn't get it on net at all. Didn't get it on frame. Was really disappointing. That was a really, really good chance in the first half. Another great moment here for Justin Ellis. I mean, great little bit of footwork, finds the ball inside, and Griffin Dorsey hitting it with his left foot. Not really what we wanted. I mean, Griffin was all up and down the right side, playing right wing back, but really he was really high, playing a lot of the right wing most of the time. And I just think he didn't really have the execution in the final third. He'd get these chances on in front of goal, didn't put a good shot on frame, or didn't make that final pass that we really needed to win the game. So good that we're getting him up the field, but not so good that he's not, producing that final end product. Again, here a highlight of Wiki Kimona really missing a good opportunity. This one we got very, very lucky with at the beginning at the end of the first half. Iago jumps up and it comes right off the post. You can see Owusu there on the ground doing a bit of handball action with wrestling with Maxime Crepeau. So well called by the ref not to give that one as a foul. And again, finally, the last chance that Montreal had, they were attacking a lot. They had a lot more chances than us. They had a lot more shots than us throughout this game, especially in the first half. I think we only had like 2 shots on target. They had one, but they did have a lot more general chances overall and more possession of the ball. Throughout the first half, we had this problem where we couldn't really get out. We were sitting deep, and then we try and play out the 1-2 passing up the field, but instead we just failed to do so and just give the ball straight back to them. This here was a really good, last second challenge by Robin Janssen to get in the way of Matty Longstaff so that they didn't score right at the end of the first half. Other notes on the first half I noticed is Angulo really didn't have a good game. I found him quite central quite a lot throughout this game, especially in the first half. He wasn't really out on the left-hand side. He was kind of drifting inside, similar thing with Atuesta, seems to have like license to be able to go where he likes to try and find the game. But I think in this formation, that sort of leaves a very big hole in the middle. We've already got plenty of wide players. At times, I just want Atuesta and Brian Ojeda to really sit in the middle of the park and cover the middle of the park and be a passing option in the center of the field. And often they're not there, which frustrates me a lot. I think Justin Ellis had a really, really good first half. We did a good job of keeping Jaime and Owusu fairly, controlled within that first half. We didn't really let them have too many chances for Montreal, so that was good. I also noticed that we just don't really press very much. We spend a lot of our time sitting back, and then we need to get it forward and actually press the opposition, I think, sooner than we did. Again, Brian Ojeda, Atuesta, they're kind of Brian Ojeda sitting back, Atuesta's wherever he is on the field, and no one's going forward to close down the midfielders of Montreal, and that's kind of something I noticed throughout the first half. It was a pretty bad ending to the first half, so we're hoping that the second 45 minutes was going to be better under Martin Perlman. We can't put like 90 minutes together at all, so it seems to me like we have a good half and a bad half at the moment. And of course, the first half was pretty poor from us, really very disjointed, not much going on. I think we were lucky that Montreal didn't score. So we're hoping in the second half to have a bit of an improvement, and we didn't really see much of that at all. So here we can see one of the early chances we had, a good pass by Justin Ellis through. And Tyrese Spicer kind of showing why I think he needs to be on the bench and Thiago should be starting there. We've seen before in the past, Thiago will take that chance. He'll make a cross here where I think Tyrese Spicer never really lifted his head up. He's always trying to go straight for goal, and sometimes it works out and he has a great shot on him. But I think the selfishness is a bit too much from him at times. I want to see him cross the ball there. I think that was a great opportunity to play in Martin Ojeda, and we didn't go for it at all. Iago looking for that looping header there. He had a good one a couple games ago, so maybe that's something we need to look for more on the set pieces. I think he's an absolute beast in the air, and he's got a great power header on him that we'd like to see, result more from corners. Of course, there's Luca Petrasso, a guy that we let go from Orlando City thinking he wasn't good enough. I think when you play this left wing back formation, Luca Petrasso would be a great player to have on the field for us at the moment, and one that's proving he is worthy in MLS, and maybe we could have kept him around, but there he is from Montreal. They had a lot of bounces in the second half. We really didn't kick on, and there's a few very, very close opportunities where they could have won the game, and it took them a while to finally get that winner. And I think a lot of that has to do with the substitutions that we saw. This Really, really good stop by Iago, proving, why you don't give up on the play, why, he is that kind of classic intellectual Brazilian center back. I mean, great final sliding challenge to get in there and block the elusive shot. Marin just gets completely bypassed with a great ball. Maxime Crepeau comes flying off his line. You know, got to claim that if you come out. He's an absolute no man's land that. And Iago completely saves him with an incredible sliding tackle. Here we are in the 86th minute, very late in the game. At this point, we've made several subs. I'll talk about them in a minute. But, very disappointing to see how we collapsed at the end of this game here. Very, very frustrating to watch, having been in it 0-0 the whole time. This opportunity in particular is where we could have won it. I don't know why Duncan Maguire wasn't there. Even Martin Ojeda was pointing him to where he needed to go. The same thing happened earlier with Spicer, and we couldn't get that final finish that we needed at the end of this game as it kind of opened up, and then we left the door open for a very, very, very silly challenge to come from Robin Janssen. Petrasso coming into the box from the left-hand side, and I don't know what Jansen's doing. I mean, he's falling over there. Let's look at that again. I mean, it's foolish. It's silly. It's not what we want from our captain. I think he think if I fall into the guy, I can get away with it. And the ref, I think he let a lot go in the first half. And the second half, he was a little bit less willing to do so. Can't blame Maxime anything on the penalty. It was a really, really nice penalty from Rios, buried it into the top of the net. And yeah, Montreal at this point is the 93rd minute of extra time. And yeah, that's game over. But of course, there was more to come in a second. And I noticed him on the bench earlier, but I was wondering why Daggy Dan, my man, ex-Orlando City player, wasn't in the field. I've always rated him. He's a very, very good player. He makes an incredible touch here, and then absolutely bangs one into the corner to stab a knife through our hearts, and celebrates quite a lot as well. I don't think we can blame Dagger Dan for celebrating whatsoever. It's his first goal for Montreal. It's in his stadium. It's against his old club that maybe he feels a little bit jilted by. Of course, we didn't really back him to be the number one. I think at the time we assumed Alex Freeman was going to be here and he wanted to be the starting right back, and we let him go. But we see the quality of Dagger Dan and what he can do. A great finish from him. But yeah, that was basically just nail in the coffin for us, and it just really sealed the win for them. And didn't matter anyway; we weren't going to come back. But yeah, a nice goal by Dagger Dan, and one that personally just really killed me. But it's good for you, Dagger. And that was a nice finish. All right, let's talk about the reason I think that really we lost this game. I think partly because of Robin Jansen's foolishness on that attempt to, I don't know what he was doing, try and fall on the ball, try and roll into Petrasso. But I think more partly because we decided to make some foolish subs. And it has to be said that Martin Perlman, so often he gets the subs wrong. I think we have about a ratio of one good sub to about four bad subs for Martin Perlman. He's often, I wonder, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Or how late are you doing it? You can see right here, in the 67th minute, we bring out Spicer, which I think was the right decision because Spicer did not have a good game. But then that begs the question is, why did you start Spicer? Why wasn't Thiago starting like he had been before and that had been working for us, then using Spicer off the bench? So yeah, you gave Spicer the start, but you kind of left him on too long, I think, because he wasted a lot of chances. And it wasn't his night at all. So I would have liked to see Thiago come in way earlier. Instead, he goes for Duncan Maguire, and we kind of see. I thought we were going to see Ojeda in the number 10 position behind Ellis and Maguire as like a dual strike partnership, but instead we really saw Duncan Maguire come on and play the left wing role, and he also wasted a chance on a breakaway as well. So it really wasn't a good night for Duncan Maguire, and another bad, game for him. He's not having a good season whatsoever. So that was the first error in the substitutions. The second was he brought on David Brecalo for Justin Ellis. Justin Ellis was having an incredible game. Actually looked like one of our best players out there. In no way should Justin Ellis have been brought off the field. he was likely to make an assist or a goal in this game more than anyone. Even I think was having a better game than Martin Ojeda, who wasn't really featuring that much at all in this match. Instead, we bring David Breclo on, at which point I'm questioning why do we need like four center backs on the field? You've still got Marin in there. At that point, David Breclo kind of pushed into the left wing back role. Marin stayed as the left side of the center back. You've still got Jansen. You've got Iago. Really, the 81st minute seemed like we were just trying to hold on instead of going for the win, which I think a lot of the Orlando City fans want to see. And we just, it's echoes of Oscar Pereja, right? I think there's that sort of mentality that we're just fed up as Orlando City fans, and stop making defensive subs at the end of the game, try and win the game, go out there, try and bring, the right players on, which for one, it should have been Thiago here. I think at this point I was calling for Otavio to come on for Atuesta. Atuesta was still on the field. He was getting worse and worse as the half went on. He kept losing the ball. He wasn't running as much. He's just coming back from injury. I didn't expect him to play 90 minutes. I think it was an error to keep him on the field for 90 minutes. So Otavio should have brought on. Instead, he takes Justin Ellis off in the 81st minute, which is all quite late anyway. And then we see David Brecalo come on, who is just not having a good year at all. So you made two subs for Duncan Maguire and David Brecalo, arguably reduced, our abilities on the field. You brought on two players who are out of form on for, an informed Justin Ellis. And then we saw Zachariah Taifi come on, which I didn't really have much of an issue with. That was for Griffin Dorsey. Griffin Dorsey had obviously, played a lot and been up and down that wing. He'd been running all night. But again, it's the 90th minute. It's just too late. Like what can Zachariah Taifi really do so late in the game? And again, it just seems like a defensive substitution that you're just, okay, Griffin's got tired legs. I'm going to bring on Zachariah Taifi. And finally, Carvalho as well coming on, Thiago coming on at the same time for Adrian Marin. But at that point, again, the 90th minute, what really makes sense there? It doesn't really make sense at all. If we look on the other side, just an example from Montreal, 80th minute, they bring on an attacker in Straight. They bring on Escobar, a midfielder. They bring on Rios, who got the penalty, and they bring on Dagerdan, who, as we know, is classified as a defender, but is an extremely attacking right back that can get up the field and has a lot of attacking ability and scored a great goal. So, it's just very classic Oscar Pereira, but also, very Martin Perlman, as we're learning, that he wants to try and hold on to a draw in a game where we were arguably in the game. We could have won the game with some of the last chances that we had that Duncan Maguire fluffed and that we saw Spicer waste some chances. Really, we just needed some different attacking talent on the field, someone to put the ball in the back of the net. I don't think Duncan Maguire was the right choice there. I think Thiago should have come on like in the 60th minute at the absolute latest, in my opinion, maybe even at halftime, based on what we saw from Spicer. Definitely Otavio should have come on for Atuesta at some point. So yeah, Martin Perlman just making the wrong substitution, and I think wrong substitutions, plural, and costing us the game, and also just making them too late, where they can't really be effective, can't really do much to change the outcome of the game. And Orlando City really just imploding within the last 10 minutes there. And it's something we don't want to see, especially after the great result we got Inter Miami. We're on a high. Everybody's excited for this game. We go to Montreal and just fall flat on our face and lose 2-0 to a team that is just as bad as us struggling at the bottom of the table. And again, in the press conference, we hear from, Tyrese Spicer, who I thought spoke fairly well, but didn't really play much in this, very well in this game at all, and kind of looked quite, lackluster at times. I think he wasn't having a good night. It wasn't the game for him. So I didn't really want to hear from him at the end of this match. I would have liked to have heard from some of the other leaders in the team, maybe from, Jansen on what happened with the penalty, maybe from Maxime Crepeau. Instead, we hear from Tyrese Spicer. And also we hear from Martin Perlman, who, when we win or lose, seems to have the same reaction. I mean, I think he's an extremely level-headed guy. He also seems to me maybe very cautious around the media, like he's really concerned about what he might say. Maybe it has something to do with the "It is what it is" quote that he said at one point and that catched on fire with the Orlando City fans. But this felt a little bit like that, a little bit "it is what it is," talking about how we were going for the game, and then we just lost it, and that's just what happens. And I think really he should have made more ownership of the fact that he got the substitutions wrong at the end of the game and didn't make the right decisions in order to be able for us to go and win the game. And also maybe should have not decided to change things up from what the winning formula was, where we were playing, like I said, Thiago to start on the left wing and playing Otavio in the midfield. Just on that, I don't think, like I said before, that the Atuesta Brian Ojeda midfield combination works. It just hasn't produced any real results for us. I think we kind of have Brian Ojeda sitting deep there, but Atuesta just doesn't seem to spend much time at all for me in the middle of the park. So I think we end up with this formation with a lot of space in front of our back three. I much prefer when we have Otavio there sitting with Brian Ojeda, and maybe Brian Ojeda is the guy who moves a little bit further forward. So I'd like to see us get back to that for the game that we have against Philadelphia. Reverse what you did, put back in the team that we think works together, and try and get these substitutions right, because overall that was really what cost us in this match, as well as I think Robin Jansen just having a very un-Jansen moment where he did something that he shouldn't do. He's usually a great leader in the back line and leads by example, and he imploded, and the whole team really just followed suit and self-imploded right afterwards as well. So I think best players in this match for me has to be Justin Ellis. I mean, some of the passing, some of the sequences, the way he just holds the ball in his foot, like he looks such a good player, and I think we need to see more and more of him. Iago had a great game. He did a really good line saving tackle we saw there where they basically should have scored from that one. I just think he seems very up for every game. He was getting in the face of Jaime, giving him a little bit of this in his ear, trying to annoy him. And that's the stuff we like to see. I think that he's, really improving game by game. And I think Maxime Crepeau had a decent game. He made a lot of saves with the wind in the first half that was coming at him. It made things a little bit trickier. And then really, the end of the game, he let himself down and lost a clean sheet. But this is a very long time now where Orlando City have not been able to hold on to a clean sheet. Clearly, we can't defend. And so when we're not scoring, I think we have to make changes to be able to put the players on the field that are going to score. Because if we don't score 2 or 3 goals right now, it doesn't seem like we're going to win any goals whatsoever. So thanks very much, guys, for listening. I hope you enjoyed this analysis of the game. I'm going to try and do something like this after every game. I'm going to try and link up with the LPO guys at some point and do some stuff with them as well. A little bit different with me being over here in the UK, but definitely excited to start making content again. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this game. What did you like? What didn't you like? What am I right about? Where do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, I'll see you next time on JRTV.